Pumpkinhead, a ghost story, told live at the DMS, October 25th, 2019. I lived in Jokeville and had just moved into a brand new house in a brand new subdivision when the nightmares started. Or maybe I should have said nightmare, because it was always the same nightmare. It was a bright moonlit night in midsummer, and I was making my way down a path along the edge of a farmer's field, with woods nearby. I said it was the same nightmare, but the details varied. Sometimes all I experienced was a sudden sharp blow on the back of the neck, knocking me to the ground. But at other times, I became aware of a shadowy figure at the periphery of my vision, before once again being knocked down. Other times, I saw him emerge from the woods, a short, squat man who looked somewhat familiar, wearing a cap and carrying an axe in his muscular arms. Sometimes he charged me, axe raised, while other nights I dreamed I turned tail and ran, whilst he chased me in the moonlight. I always woke up in a cold sweat, sometimes more than once a night. I loved my new house, but this was getting me down. One reason I loved the house was it allowed me to have a vegetable garden, but this year I decided to have my own pumpkin patch. It was when my pumpkins began to mature during the last hot days of August and September that I noticed their deformity. Instead of the usual jack-o'-lantern shape, my pumpkins actually looked like human heads, complete with high foreheads and noses. "I guess I won't be decorating with them," I said ruefully. And in the meantime, the nightmares were really ramping up, and I was almost afraid to go to sleep at night. And then it was Canadian Thanksgiving and Halloween. Pumpkin time. I'd gone for a walk late one night and noticed a lighted jack-o'-lantern sitting on a neighbor's porch. I liked the design and thought I might copy it if I ever grew a decent pumpkin. The next evening I went for another walk, only to find the pumpkin gone. It was gone and replaced with a severed human head. It was the head of a young man with a high forehead and prominent nose, sitting in a pool of dripping gore. The sight shocked me, but then I realized that it must have been a Halloween decoration. "It's pretty realistic for a Halloween decoration," I said to myself. "In fact, it's gory, it's gross." But then I looked again, and it was only a pumpkin. "Better get my damned eyes checked," I muttered, shaking my head. You guys are just going to have to give me a second here. This is so hard to talk about. I just need a minute. Just give me a second. Just give me a moment. Okay, I'm better now. And then my troubles really started, you see. For each time I saw a pumpkin or a large squash, I saw a severed human head. Always the same head, the head of a young man with a high forehead and prominent nose, sitting in a pool of dripping gore. I'd blink my eyes, and it would be a pumpkin or a squash again. Oh God, I'm losing my mind," I told myself. And then the same weird phenomena happened to my very own pumpkins, in my pumpkin patch. They turned into a patch of severed heads. I had a bloody decapitation farm. Bloody? That was a poor choice of words. A wretched decapitation farm. One bright moonlit night, I couldn't take it anymore, and decided to dig them all up and destroy them. I'd try again next year. Better luck next time. I hadn't dug down far when my spade hit something hard. Hard and white. Pushing the dirt away with my fingers, I recoiled. It was a human skull. At first I thought it was a prank, but on closer examination, I knew it was real. How did it get there? Who could have put it there? And why? And how was I going to explain it? Explain it without somebody thinking that I'd done it as a prank. Or maybe that I'd done something more serious. Like murder. Like axe murder. Why did I think of axe murder? But that's what popped into my mind. I know now it was stupid, but I reburied it and went back to bed. Things came to a head. Ouch. Oh, ouch, ouch. They came to a climax in quite a public manner. I was at a huge grocery store with my new girlfriend, and she just picked out a large, round pumpkin to use as a decoration. But as she walked towards me, I could see she actually cradled a severed human head in her arms. The same severed human head that haunted my dreams. The blood from the decapitated head ran down her arms and was dripping on her blouse, her jeans, over her sandaled feet, with her lovely little red toes. Now they were red with blood. I shrieked and tore the gory head from her, dashing it to the ground, as I grabbed her and started dragging her towards the parking lot, to the front door, to the parking lot. Quick, we got to get away. We got to get out of here. We got to get out of here, I cried, and she screamed and tried to wriggle from my grasp. 3 security guards took me down just outside the door. The police were called and I was arrested and sent for a psychiatric evaluation. Of course, they checked my house. And of course, they checked the garden. And of course, they dug it all up. And of course, they found the skull and a complete skeleton of a man who'd been decapitated. And of course, I was charged with murder. You have to give me another minute here. I was charged with murder, and I'd probably be in jail now. Maybe even doing life. But then the forensic unit made an unusual discovery. The skull and the rest of the bones were at least a century old. The victim had been decapitated, but the murder had taken place at least 100 years ago. The cops may have suspected me of playing an elaborate prank, but then the local history librarian came to them with the following yarn, the following bit of unofficial local history. Back in 1897, 2 young farm laborers were competing for the same farmer's daughter, the same wealthy, beautiful young farmer's daughter. It was not a friendly competition. They hated each other. Then one of the rivals, Tony, suddenly disappeared without a trace, leaving no note or forwarding address. And so, after a while, the second man, Jim, won the girl. The farm where the men worked and competed for fair Emma's affections was on the same land as a new subdivision. The new subdivision I lived in. The subdivision that included my new home. And my vegetable garden. And my pumpkin patch. Jim was my great-great-grandfather. Was he also an axe murderer? Did he get rid of Tony one moonlit night, burying the corpse in what became of my pumpkin patch? What became my pumpkin patch? Yeah, what became of it? Were the nightmares and illusions Tony's revenge? Well then, hey, Tony, leave me out of this. I wasn't there. I wasn't born yet. I wasn't conceived, even thought of. You want revenge, Tony? You want revenge? Go down to hell and have it out with great-great-grandpa. Have a duel, loaded pumpkins at 50 paces. Just leave me alone. Alone! I spent some time in hospital, but I'm okay now. I moved to another province, and I have a new girlfriend now. But I always make sure I'm out of the country for Thanksgiving, and Halloween. I go to sensible places like the UK, where they burn dummies of Guy Fawkes in bonfires, or Mexico for the relaxing Day of the Dead, which is more like several days of the dead. Ha ha! Tequila! The rest of the time, I'm fine. Unless someone says something like pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie! Because if you say pumpkin pie, I want mine with ice cream. Jacky Lantern, a ghost story, also known as A Bridge Too Far, also known as Worth Dying For. In the town where I grew up, there is a train bridge which crosses the 16-mile creek 100 feet below. It's a wide bridge with 3 lines of track, so you'd think it would be pretty hard to fall off the edge. But I did. No, I wasn't drunk or trying to get away from a passing train. I was only 13 years old when this happened. It was Jacky Lantern. And who the hell is Jacky Lantern? Well, for starters, he's sometimes known as Mean Jack. And I see him in my mind's eye as a 50-ish Lon Chaney Jr. standing at a dive bar, having knocked off 18 shots of Jack Beam. 18 shots of Jim Daniel. 18 shots of whiskey. Jack was a big, mean bear of a man with a gravelly voice, kind of like mine, who liked to paw and harass women and fight and beat up men, especially men weaker and smaller than himself. He even shot a man dead over a Stetson hat. In short, he was a violent bully, a brute. But one night, after knocking back 18 shots of Jim Beam, chased down with 18 bottles of Lucky Lager, that would kill you in itself, Jacky had a massive heart attack and died before his face hit the sawdust on the floor. In the afterlife, Jacky saw what he thought were neon lights, and figuring it was a bar, he lumbered in that direction. Turned out, what he saw were the pearly gates. Jacky was just reaching to pull open the doorway to heaven when he heard a voice say, The speaker was a figure who stood by the gates and looked like every bored government employee Jacky had ever had the misfortune to encounter. But he was dressed in flowing white robes and spouted a prominent pair of wings. St. Peter. "You ain't coming in here, Jacky." "Says who?" "The boss." Jacky was about to argue the point when St. Peter added, "The big boss." "Why?" "You know why. Murder, among other things." "Oh, that." "The boss says you're supposed to go to the other place." "How the hell am I supposed to take the elevator down?" Satan was waiting for him when he stepped out of the elevator. A tall, debonair man, dressed in a black suit like an undertaker, with a black string tie, goatee, and widow's peak. Kind of a beatnik type, Daddy-O. "Come with me and abandon all hope," Satan purred. Where the hell is hell? Jacky asked. Across the desert of sighs, Satan sneered. You expect me to walk? Naturally. Or should I say supernaturally? It will help you adjust to the heat, Satan said, leading the way across the burning sands. It was a long, long walk to hell. In fact, it was more than a half acre. A blast furnace sun beat down from a white-hot sky, and there was no shade except for a solitary apple tree. Possibly the apple tree, if you know your Bible. Amongst its dark leaves were juicy, ruby-red apples, the size of pomegranates. Hey, Satan, can you give me a break? Why don't you fetch us down a couple of them beautiful apples? Why don't you? Me? I weigh 280 pounds. The branches won't hold my weight. But you're so slender and in such good shape, it wouldn't be any trouble for you to shinny up there. Now, if evil has a weakness, it's flattery. So Satan stuck his long claws, his long fingernails, into the sides of the tree trunk, and up he went, quicker than you can say, go to the devil. Go to the devil! That fast. And the instant he was among the branches, Jacky took his bowie knife from its sheath and carved a cross into the tree trunk. The devil couldn't pass across, so he was trapped up a tree with no way down. Without a paddle, so to speak. He wasn't very happy about it, and called Jacky every dirty name he could think of, and greatly impressed him by coming up with a few Jacky didn't even know, which made the old bully laugh like a braying jackass. Then Satan tried pelting Jacky with apples, but that backfired when he began eating them and drinking their juice. Satan's face was red. Hell, it was incandescent with fury, but he forced himself to calm down and said, All right, Jacky, what do you want? Took you long enough to ask, Jacky grumbled. What the hell do you want? Parole, probation. I don't want to go to hell. I think I really deserve the other place. All right, get rid of that accursed cross, and I'll let you go. How do I know you'll keep your word? The devil snorted, as if I'd want someone as cunning and treacherous as you in my infernal dominion. Why, I wouldn't be able to sleep nights. So Jacky defaced the cross, releasing Satan, and then made his way back to the elevator and the pearly gates, and was once more turned away. St. Peter told him, the boss, the big boss, said, as if I'd want someone as cunning and treacherous as Mean Jack in our heavenly precincts. Why, I wouldn't be able to sleep nights. And so Jacky took the elevator back down and trudged across the desert, wishing the whole time he had a beer. A barrel of beer. He was awfully thirsty. When he knocked at the door to the underworld, Beelzebub answered. I thought the boss told you to go to hell. Go to the other place. They won't let me in. And how is that our problem? Jack changed tactics. Can't you let me stay the night? Uh-huh. And then you'll be here from here to eternity. So, would you kindly bugger off? But it's getting dark, Jacky whined. How will I ever find my way back? Beelzebub bellowed with laughter and said, Here's something to help you light your way, tossing him a red, hot coal. Now, when someone tosses you something, you instinctively grab it, as Jack did, with both hands. Jacky bellowed as the coal burned into his not overly tender flesh, bellowing even more when he found the hot coal had stuck to his hands and he couldn't get rid of it. Jack's stream of profanity was heard in heaven and hell and maybe even in Canada. And he was stuck with the glowing hot coal from here to eternity. He found he couldn't shake it off, no matter what he tried to do. Jack also had no place to go. Heaven shut off the lights from the pearly gates, so he couldn't find them, while Beelzebub and various minor demons threatened him with more hot coals, as well as fire and brimstone. So in the end, Jacky was forced to wander the world without rest, moving from place to place and from dusk until dawn. He was always in pain and couldn't even catch a beer, as he was condemned to hold the hot coal in both hands and couldn't pick anything up. Jacky was mean before, but now he was mean. So he devoted himself to the only real pleasure he had left, hurting others. Jacky-Lantern would use his light, his burning coal, to mesmerize and mislead unwary travelers, who, on dark nights, would head towards the light and what they thought might be safety, only to be led into deadly swamps, off the edges of cliffs, off the ends of piers and docks, and off the sides of train bridges. One dark night, some friends and I wanted to go to the Swiss chalet on the other side of town, on the other side of the 16-mile creek. We had some coupons or something. My friends had a head start, and I was hurrying to catch up with them. The fastest way to get across town was to go across the train bridge. It was something we did all the time, and was reasonably safe if you checked the signal lights to see if there were any approaching trains. Tonight, all the lights were red. My friends were already on the other side as I stepped onto the bridge. But as soon as I did, I saw a light, a bright reddish light, moving across the tracks. At first I assumed it was a cop, as they often tried to keep people off the tracks, and especially off the train bridge. Now, normally in such a situation, I would head in the other direction, but I wanted to catch up with my friends. And besides, it didn't appear to be a normal light, the normal light of a flashlight. It was orangey red for starters, more like the glow from a fireplace, and it had a hypnotic quality, which made you want to go to it. I decided to check it out. As I moved towards it, it seemed to float towards me, moving across the eastbound tracks to the very edge of the bridge. As I walked up to it, I could see it was just a light, floating about 5 feet in the air. But as I reached it, a big ugly man suddenly appeared behind it and rushed me, making me take an involuntary step backwards, and into space. I screamed, and then I hit. When I came to, I just lay there stunned, until I figured out I was still alive. Slowly I began moving my arms and legs, my head and neck, and nothing appeared to be broken. I tried to move, and then I heard voices, and my friends were there. I had landed atop a clump of thick underbrush, the leaves and branches scratching me, but breaking my fall. I'd had the wind knocked out of me and had ripped my shirt, but I seemed okay. It wasn't until years later, as a student of folklore, that I'd realized I'd been the victim of the mean and spiteful Jacky Lantern. But when I tried to tell my buddies about the evil cuss who'd pushed me off, they called me a fool. Actually, they called me a lot worse than that, and laughed at me. I went to the hospital to get checked out, right? Nah, I went with them to Swiss Chalet. Hell, we had coupons. Quarter chicken with fries and dipping sauce. Worth dying for. Hey, I almost did. And Jacky Lantern, I know you're out there. So in future, do me a favor, and let's just not meet. If this story has given you an appetite for more, please comment, share, drop a like, and consider subscribing for more Night Floaters and Ghost Stories of a Librarian. And until next time, stay hungry.